Harper Teen said, I'm gonna give you the dark academic YA ghosty vibes. And I said, take my money. Look at me buying books and actually like reading them right away. Who is she? I don't know. I honestly don't even know what it's about, but I really don't need to. All the rest of these ebooks are going to be books that I hauled on Stuff Your Kindle Day. Oh, hello friends. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori if you're new, and we are going to be talking about all the books that I've hauled recently. I have a bunch here that I'm gonna talk about. I have a package to open with y'all, and then we're also gonna go through everything that I picked up for Stuff Your Kindle Day, and I do have a couple other ebooks that I've hauled recently that we will talk about. So I hope they're excited. I have like 20 plus books to talk with y'all about. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Grab a coffee, tea, water, snack. Let's talk about some books. We're gonna open a package together. This is one of my pre-orders. I actually have 2 books from Harper Teen that I had ordered for September. They are just coming out with books that are speaking to all of the fall vibes that I ever want. So I have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is a YA book that has very dark academia, but also like haunted house vibes. We follow our main character, Effie. She is studying architecture at a very prestigious school, and she gets the opportunity to redesign her favorite author's estate, her favorite late author's estate, and it seems like an impossible task. This is a decrepit old house that is crumbling into the sea on a cliffside. When she arrives, someone else has already made a temporary home there. Preston Hellery, a stodgy young literature scholar, and he is determined to prove Effie's favorite author is a fraud. As the 2 rival students investigate the reclusive author's legacy, piecing together clues through his letters, books, and diaries, they discover that the house's foundation isn't the only thing that can't be trusted. So I love a rivals dynamic. I also think I will love the atmosphere of this book. I love a haunted house story, and it kind of gives like those creepy, decrepit old haunted house vibes. The other book that I got from Harper Teen this month, which was Library of Shadows by Rachel Moore. I just finished this book. I gave it 5 stars. I included reading some of this in one of my most recent reading vlogs, so I will leave that in the description box below if you want to hear more of my thoughts. This takes place at a prestigious haunted prep school. Our main character, Este, enrolls. She gets to run around in secret passageways in this haunted library and falls in love with a ghost boy and hangs out with ghosts. I've never wanted a high school experience more. I want to trade my high school experience for Este's high school experience in this book. It was so wonderful. That's all I'm gonna say about it, because this is not a review video, it's a haul video, but Library of Shadows is gonna be such a good fall book. Harper Teen said, I'm gonna give you the dark academic YA ghosty vibes. And I said, take my money. My other book that I hauled recently that has ghosty vibes, The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. This is a coming of age story, very reminiscent of Stand By Me, the movie, if you're familiar with that. It takes place in the 1980s in Niagara Falls in a seedy but magical haunted place. Jake Baker is our main character. He is like 13-ish, and he starts to make some new friends one summer. He's hanging out with his uncle, who is extremely eccentric, and they start to go to all of these places in their town that have creepy, like haunted-y backstories, and do some exploring as they're trying to figure out the world coming into their teendom. Saturday Night Ghost Club. There's quite a few of these that I have reading vlogs for. Look at me buying books and actually like reading them right away. Who is she? I don't know. Another book that I've read and raved about, and I will include the vlog for, is Zhara by S.J. Jones. This is a YA fantasy with a romance subplot that gives all of the Sailor Moon vibes. Period. The end. No, just kidding. It has a gorgeous, gorgeous cover, and also the naked book. This color, like, I'm so sorry. And you get a stunning, beautiful, gorgeous map. This is the first book in the Guardians of Dawn series. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 more books in the series, and it is wonderful. So our main character, Zhara, in this society, magic is persecuted. It's very dangerous to be a magician, and so Zhara has had to live her whole life hiding her magic. But when a mysterious plague starts to transform magicians into monsters, Zhara joins a secret magical liberation society called the Guardians of the Dawn, and her life becomes entwined with an easily flustered young man named Han who has secrets of his own. Magicians go missing, abominations emerge, and Zara's powers are growing beyond her control. A demon has awoken in the morning realms, and Zara must find the elemental warrior within before the balance between order and chaos is lost forever. Next, let's just briefly touch on, I got the new covers for Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms. I've been reading Throne of Glass for the first time. I've been trying to collect the old covers. Even though I do really love the new covers, I had just started buying the books with the old covers and wanted to continue. However, I was reading Queen of Shadows, an older version that I picked up on Pango, and me and my dust allergies couldn't handle it anymore. So I had to switch to the new version because I couldn't stop sneezing reading my old cover version. And then when I was at Target picking up this book, I was like, let me just grab Empire of Storms. So Sarah J. Maas has taken more of my money. That's that. Okay, I'll go with the 2 other books that I've read that I've hauled recently, and then we'll switch to the couple physical books I haven't read yet. So I absolutely raved about Frost. I will include the vlog for this down below. I promise I'll stop saying that momentarily. I read Frost by C.N. Crawford and had so much stinking fun. This was another 5-star read for me. This is the perfect crossover between A Cruel Prince, fairy land. It's kind of a low fantasy because some of it does take place in the human world, some of it takes place in fairy, mixed with a reality TV dating show that is dangerous and deadly and cutthroat in all of the best ways. It's so hilarious. It would be a perfect read for fall and winter. And then I just finished reading this recently. I will put the vlog for this below as well if you want more thoughts. Heavenly Bodies by Amani Aru. This is a celestial fantasy romance with tropes of fated love. There was a one-horse trope in here as well. It is knife to throat, enemies to lovers. Actually, yeah, I guess it's enemies to lovers. Maybe more hate to love, because it's not like a literal enemies to lovers. It's much more hate to love. I will say the plot lost me in this book, but I loved the romance so much that I stuck through it. And in my opinion, it was worth it because the end of this book is so strong. But this is a book where you have to be along for the journey, along for the ride. I love the world that Amani Aru crafted because it is entirely immersive and descriptive and gorgeously written. It's just not like the best writing in the whole entire world. And then these last 3 are books that I haven't read yet, but I'm so incredibly excited to. So the first one being Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. This is a witchy fantasy romance. So it might be an option for the Who Did This To You book club. That is the book club that I run on an app called Fable. We are going to be very, very soon voting on our October book pick, and we're looking to read something with a spooky flavor to it. Maybe something vampire, maybe something witchy. So that is linked in the description box below as well. This is about Celine Bowers. At age 20, she desperately hopes to be accepted to her coven, Henbent Coven, an academy for young witches. One of the requirements is that she has to connect with her powers. So she books herself a quest through the wilderness. I think like the Amazon rainforest or something. Yeah, she takes a trip to South America when a nefarious supernatural force tries to drag her plane from the sky. Her magic awakens. However, she's learning that using her magic devours her memory one by one. So we almost get an unreliable narrator because every time she uses her magic to save her life, it takes memories from her. Worse, when Celine braves the jungle and discovers the source of the attack, she finds herself awakening an ancient evil, whose name is Memnon, the Cursed. He mistakes Celine for his long dead wife, the wife who betrayed him. Celine manages to escape and begins her studies at Henbane, but when Memnon turns up at the coven, witches are found dead across campus. Celine becomes entangled in a dangerous plot. Next up, I won't say too much about this because I feel like we all know about this book. I just really need to start reading Carissa Broadbent's vampire books. So that is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. This cover, can I just say, is so stunning. I honestly don't even know what it's about, but I really don't need to. It's a vampire fantasy romance. It's written by Carissa Broadbent, and everyone and their mother is screaming, crying, throwing up about it. So obviously I'm gonna read it. Also, the chapter pages, gorgeous. She's stunning. I might be annotating this one as well. It seems like it could be a cutie vibe. And then my last physical book that I've hauled recently is Blood and Steel by Helen Schurer. I read Slaying the Shadow Prince, which is a Kindle Unlimited standalone, but it takes place in the same world as this series, which is her Legends of Thesmar series. I've heard incredible things about this series. I fell in love with her writing style in Slaying the Shadow Prince. I also really enjoyed the world as well. So in that book, basically these demon creatures were taking over the world, and so there was this war. It was almost like a dystopian world because the demon creatures had ruined so many towns, villages, all of these things. Like, people were starting to live underground just to escape these creatures. The second book in the series just came out. This is also a Kindle Unlimited series, but again, I just purchased it because I was so obsessed with her writing. I was like, absolutely, this needs to happen. I will be purchasing the second book in this series once it comes out physically. I think right now it's only released as an ebook on KU. So those are the 10 physical books that I've hauled. Now we're getting into my ebooks. Okay, I'm gonna hold up the covers on my iPad. Hopefully you can see them okay. I think that you can. If any of them don't show up well on camera though, I will just include the picture. I'll pop up a picture so that y'all can see it. So the first book that I've bought recently for ebooks is called Death of the Dawn by Amanda King. This is the first book in the Spires of Dawn series. Basically, I've been looking for more vampire books that aren't the ones that everyone talks about. So I figured I would start with this one. It was on sale on Amazon, so I had to pick it up. Basically, our main character in this, her name is Lena, and she doesn't believe the stories that are going around her village of these blood-sucking monsters that come out at night. She's never believed in vampires. She's not going to. They're not real. Until she actually wakes one. As the village's healer, she has to provide the vampire with blood so that he doesn't kill any of the villagers. What starts as feelings of resentment turn into feelings of friendship, and then a little bit beyond friendship. And I think that this is young adult, so I don't think that this one has spice in it, but that is okay with me. I think I'm gonna do a whole vampire book vlog, and this one will probably be in it. So keep an eye out for that. The next ebook that I bought is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This is the first book in the Mead Mishaps series. I gave this 5 stars. I loved it so much. It's such a silly, goofy, fun time. It's a very spicy fantasy romance. There are high stakes. They go on a journey together. It was just so fun and hilarious. I highly recommend this. I think that this series is getting a little bit more popular. I do see people talking about it, but it's not on Kindle Unlimited. And I feel like a fantasy romance novella series, because this book was only 200, maybe 250 pages, I feel like if it were on Kindle Unlimited, everyone would be eating this series up, but the fact that it's not, and the fact that you do have to purchase the books, has kind of hurt this series. But in my opinion, it's worth the couple dollars that you pay for the book, and it is so funny. This was a book that I purchased in the middle of the night. It was midnight, and I have been obsessed with this Instagram account lately that's called What Kelsey's Reading, and she gives you almost every day on her stories the ebooks that are on sale on Amazon. And so thanks, Kelsey. I have been buying so many books just based off of those stories. If there's one that I've had my eye on, I have been purchasing them. This one was not on my radar at all, and I ended up reading the description for it, the summary, and then I read a preview on Goodreads of the first chapter. This writing style had me from the first chapter. I I have a soft spot in my heart. It's like one of my favorite things. Desert inspired, Middle Eastern inspired, or Indian inspired fantasies. Like The Stardust Thief, like An Ember in the Ashes is one of my absolute favorite series. This is Indian inspired. I actually think that this will be my first Indian inspired fantasy instead of Middle Eastern. So Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. This empire and this world is built on the dreams of enslaved gods. The Amrithi are outcasts. Those are the folks with magic in their blood. They're nomads descended from desert spirits, and they are persecuted. Our main character, Mare, is the illegitimate daughter of a nobleman and an exiled Amrithi mother who she barely remembers. When Mare's power comes to the attention of the Emperor's most feared mystics, she must use every ounce of will, subtlety, and power she possesses to resist their cruel agenda. Should she fail, the gods themselves may awaken, seeking vengeance. Empire of Sand is a lush, dazzling fantasy novel, perfect for readers of City of Brass and The Wrath and the Dawn. This is a book and a series that I really haven't heard anyone talking about, and so I can't wait to dig into this one. All the rest of these ebooks are going to be books that I hauled on Stuff Your Kindle Day. I would like to give a warning. I know very little about most of these books. I went off of vibes. I did read summaries for some of them, but do I remember them? Absolutely not. A couple of these are fairly like well-known authors, well-known books, so I was so shocked that they were for free on Stuff Your Kindle Day, and then the rest of these are going to be much more like lesser known books. First up of the well-knowns is Blood Price by Vela Roth. This is a Blood Grace novel. Vela Roth is taking the world by storm with her fantasy romances. However, I've been very scared to pick up Blood Mercy because it is a 700-page vampire fantasy romance. It is on Kindle Unlimited, I think, but I've heard that the world building is extremely involved and the writing is not the easiest to read. Even though I have heard praise that the story is really good, those things definitely intimidate me that it's going to be more of a brain power book to be able to understand the depth of everything that's going on. So this is the 0.5 book of the series, and I think it will be a really good starting point. It's also only 300 pages, and so that to me makes it a little bit more approachable. What got me with this, I mean, I've known about the Blood Grace series and I have been very intrigued to read it, so this will probably be in my vampire fantasy romance reading vlog. But then I saw An Ancient Feud, Forbidden Love, and A Bargain with the Darkest Magic. One click, it's free, add to cart. Next up, To Carve a Fae Heart by Tasana Odette. I have read Tasana Odette's Entangled with Fae series, which is, that one is a Regency era Fae fairy tale retelling series. This one is just like a separate Fae romantasy series. I love Tasana Odette's writing. She writes very sweet, feel-good, happily ever after endings, and I think that it's the first book in the Fair Isle trilogy, and I've been dying to pick up her books. So when I saw that it was for free on Stuff Your Kindle Day, I said, yes please. I also picked up The Song of the Marked by S.M. Gaither. This is book 1 in the Shadows and Crowns series. Our main character is a mercenary, and the only things that she cares about is finishing the current job that she's doing and earning enough coin for the expensive medicine that her mentor needs. It's giving a little bit of Throne of Glass vibes. When the king commands her to investigate a strange plague devastating the empire, she can't resist the massive reward he offers, even if it does mean working with the arrogant, infuriating captor Ellender. But as the death toll rises and strange monsters wreak havoc across the realms, Cass and Ellender find themselves up against meddling gods and very old magic. I talked about this book during the Once Upon a Readathon this past summer. I was hoping to have read it this past summer, but I didn't end up getting to it, and that is On These Black Sands by Vanessa Rossinen. This is a pirate fantasy romance, which swiftly became one of my favorite subgenres of fantasy romance this past summer when I binge read so many of them. This one we have a morally gray hero and a super relatable female main character. It has to do with pirates. I heard that it's a slow burn fantasy romance, and I've heard that the spice is pretty good. Really all I needed to know to add this one to my cart. Okay, let's go through the few that I also picked up for Stuff Your Kindle Day that are academic settings. In St. Gabriel City, there are 4 families, and there are those who are owned by them. The Spencers, the Hargraves, the Ferreros, and the Knights rule the city together with their exorbitant wealth and iron fists that no one dare challenge. Each family has an heir, and they are raised together to one day assume control of their respective empires, trained to crush anyone who stands in their way under the heel of their immeasurable power. At least there were 4 families. There were 4 heirs, until 3 of the families banded together to murder the Knights in cold blood one fateful summer night. Their daughter was only 11 years old, and the other heirs, 3 sons, were only 12 as they watched their best friend die on the floor of a soulless beige conference room next to her parents. That little girl has been hiding just across the river, right under their noses. That little girl is all grown up, and now she's the Academy's newest scholarship student. That little girl is me, and I'm going to burn this city to the mother effing ground. It's a new adult, college-aged, dark academy romance, and it's the first book in a trilogy, and I've heard that it does end on a cliffhanger. I'm sorry. I don't think this one is a fantasy romance. I think that this is a contemporary romance. Next up was Shadow Spell Academy. I'm not gonna lie, the only thing that I know about this book and the series is that it is a magical school, and there's like a deadly competition trials in here, and I said, okay, perfect. I really don't know how this is gonna be. I don't think this one had very good ratings on Goodreads, but I kind of wanted to read it just for a silly, goofy, fun time, not taking it very seriously. I'm not expecting a crazy, amazing, stunning writing style out of this one. It's just going to be like a silly, goofy, smutty time. And that is Forbidden Magic. This is the Dark Falls Academy Book 1, and this is by Anya Cosgrove. It's giving Zodiac Academy, sort of. It's this magical school where there's a bunch of different supernatural creatures, and it's a bully romance. So this is me dipping my toe into this kind of book because I have very mixed feelings about the Zodiac Academy on whether or not I want to actually read it or not, because those books are so long. I've heard that the writing isn't fantastic, and now I think they're writing book 10. So I'm gonna see if this is for me, and it's academic setting, so I was here for it. It's gonna be my little trial period. This next book, I'll show you the cover in a moment. Our main character, Duraki, has an impending arranged marriage she's not excited for. She flees her kingdom, but what she doesn't expect, because they never do, is to flee into the arms of a toned, sexy, smelling of leather and pine with a husky voice man. Together, they let their walls down and build a bond unlike any other until betrayal leaves Duraki once again fleeing from her problems, only this time completely alone and heartbroken. This is an adult fantasy, question mark, romance. It is a dark fantasy romance. Yeah, it has to be fantasy. There are a lot of trigger warnings for this, so check the trigger warnings. This was my unhinged ad to my Stuff Your Kindle Day, and that is Of Shadow and Light by Melissa McSherry. It's book 1 of The Essence of Ash. I have zero idea what I'm getting into with this one. It just sounded kind of fun. A Layer So Sinful by Zoe Ellis. This is an epic fantasy romance. I feel like a lot of them are described as epic. I don't know how epic this is gonna be. However, I know that this is a fantasy romance about a female main character who gets involved with a very powerful male who's bonded to a very powerful dragon. And do you think that I needed to know anything else? Nope. No, I didn't. I also picked up Scarlight by Evie Marceau. This is book 1 in the Castles of the Eerie series. Also kind of a stunning cover. In the Goodreads reviews, and this might have been the only unhinged review that I looked at, but it really caught my attention, a Three Little Bears retelling? That's spicy. So we'll see how it goes. Our main character, when she was very young, was rescued from a wolf attack by a rival kingdom, or like enemy kingdom's heir. They both left that interaction scarred, physically, emotionally, probably both. And he returns her to her kingdom. So he like fully rescues her, leaves her alone. Well, when they grow up, he comes back for her, claiming that that's his prize. And so she starts asking the question, was I rescued or was I kidnapped? And she has to go to this enemy kingdom. I think it's like an enemies to lovers. I need to find out where the Three Little Bears reference comes into play. So that is Scarlet. I'm sorry, I know that this picture is kind of atrocious and awful, but I picked up the bind up of the Myrtlewood Mysteries books by Iris Beaglehole. Beaglehole. That has to be a pen name. A mix of Practical Magic and Gilmore Girls. I think that's a common theme in a lot of cozy mysteries that are coming out this year. Probably not just this year and like in years past as well, but they're catching my attention specifically this year because that's all I really ever wanted. This is a witchy cozy mystery where a mother and a daughter are running like a spooky inn. They had to take over the property after their grandmother slash great-grandmother passed away, and they need to step into her shoes, fill her role. There's some murders that happen. It takes place in the South as well, I believe. Yeah, this was released in 2022. Oh, and it was published in Wellington, New Zealand. Interesting. If you liked Stalking Jack the Ripper, you might like The Fire in the Glass by Jacqueline Benson. Also, this cover is giving Fable and Namesake by Adrienne Young, absolutely. But this book is about I think that she's like a psychic or a medium or something along those lines. And she's very hesitant to trust anyone with her secret, but she has to because this takes place in 1914, the early 1900s, somewhere around there. And she has to confess her secret ability to an aristocrat to help her solve these murders of a serial killer that is on the streets of London. Sounds so good, and it was free. If you liked The Cruel Prince, if you liked Frost, if you liked Mountains Made of Glass, I think this one might catch your eye like it did mine, and that is called White Frost by Anthea Sharp. I do need to read, I try not to just like read summaries to y'all because I know that you can read on your own, but this summary really caught my attention. Our main character's name is Rose. She finds herself in a world full of secrets and forbidden magic. There, she meets her new stepsister, the enigmatic Princess Neve, who will either become her best friend or her worst enemy. She is beset by a dangerous creature and rescued by Thorn, the dark elf guardian of the forest, who binds her to the dark wood and forbids her to speak of its mysteries. Yet, despite the danger surrounding her, Rose continues to risk everything in her quest for answers until the day she steals herself into the depths of the forest and discovers the most perilous secret of all. This is like a fantasy fairy tale vibe. It obviously takes place in fairy. It's giving very goblin core, cottage core fantasy romance. I don't know if there's spice in this, but I really hope that there is. The next book that I got is called Of Moons and Monsters by Willow Hadley. This sounds so unhinged. This is probably one of my more unhinged purchases from Stuff Your Kindle Day. I think her main character's name is Isla. I don't think it's Isla. I just can't convince myself that it's pronounced Isla, so we're gonna say Isla. She decides to go to a party with her demon best friend, Alistair, to help him make his vampire ex-boyfriend jealous, but their plan backfires when Alistair's ex turns out to be more psycho than Isla ever realized, and she finds herself being kidnapped and sold on the supernatural black market. What? I think that this is a reverse harem. The cover is beautiful. Sounds a bit like a dark adult fantasy romance. The last book that we will be talking about is Threaded by Tay Rose. I'm not gonna lie, I saw this on so many people's Stuff Your Kindle Day hauls, and I was like, should I get that one? Why is everyone adding this one? This is about a girl. She's turning 21, and I think when she turns 21, she has the opportunity to really like start her life, do with her life what she wants to, kind of gain her freedom. But she gets invited to this party that happens every 100 years. She's thrown into the world of cutthroat politics and ruthless power grabs because I think she comes into a power that she doesn't fully understand. She didn't know that she had it. A lot of powerful people want to use her as a tool, a weapon, for their own means, whatever it is. But she finds herself being drawn to the brooding, disgraced son of a lord, an unwilling member of her sworn guard, and the pull between them places Mariah in a more in more danger than she can fathom. As they grow closer, uncovering the forgotten mysteries of their world and their gods, they begin to present a threat to the kingdom's delicate balance of power, a threat that can simply not be ignored. So that is the haul, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what you got for Stuff Your Kindle Day. Are there any of these that you've read that you really enjoyed? Are there any of these that you read that you absolutely hated? Please let me know in the comments down below. I will catch you in the comments, and I'll see you in my next one, friends. Bye.